when these things begin to come to pass, look up and lift up your heads. In the month of May, a great hidden mystic was canonized, little Miriam or Maria of Jesus Crucified, the Carmelite lay sister, who was a continuous prodigy, and she was responsible for the building of the present monastery at Bethlehem. The Lord was the architect of that monastery through her. And it's interesting to see what kind of a building the Lord wanted. The church is noble and simple, where the Lord has attention, centrally enthroned, nothing to distract. And so also, all the windows are orientated towards the beyond. They all point upwards. So the sisters are orientated day by day towards the place where they have chosen to go, homeward bound, looking upwards. Right now, in the world, Homo erectus, the man who has learned to stand up on his 2 feet, is looking downwards. Actually, he's looking down a lot of the time into a screen. We have become a globe of screen gazers. Are you aware how many demons come out of a screen? Are you aware how much of your soul goes into a screen? When we engage with this powerful world of virtual reality, we are not looking upwards. Of course, it is true that a brilliant invention can help us, if well used, to look upwards. But if we're honest, is it the case? The reading that we had from St. Paul rings a bell in the monastic ears. It is traditionally chanted as the sun is rising. Nox precessit, dies autem appropinquabit. The night has far gone, and the day is at hand. It's the short chapter of Lauds, theoretically sung towards dawn. I would like, for a moment, to invite you to spend virtually a moment in that centuries-old waiting for the light, the prefiguring of the coming of the Son of Man upon the clouds. Our word to orientate comes from that. Churches classically are orientated. They face the Oriens, the rising sun. And so the monastic centuries always looked for the first light. The long night vigil in dark and therefore interiority, where the whole of nature is calm. Then, bit by bit, as the seasons change, goes in concelebration with our little friends the birds towards the first light. And often it happens that when it comes to the Missa Summa, the High Mass, one is actually coinciding with the fullness of light as one elevates the host. But there is more to that than meets the eye. It's the calm waiting for life before the day is crashed into and overspent. One waits for it in anticipation, in virginity of heart and mind, fasting and empty, calm and workable upon. One feels all. One hears all. And after this long vigil, then and only then, one faces the mystery of an unpacked day, which will come but once in all eternity, and if well fired, will land well on our copybook, one day to be opened. Quite different from those who, perhaps we too, eat away at the sacred hours of night, watching some screen. Midnight, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, am I saying the truth? I remember hearing Dom Alphonsus at Cologne saying one day, definition of a Trappist is a monk who gets up at 2 and wakes up at 4. So just starting the day when the others are going to sleep has a mystic sense. Why? Because that's when Old Nick is around. If you are into prayer, I bet you have been woken up unexpectedly around 3 in the morning, not knowing why. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because that's when Old Nick is most around. That's when his satellites are at work. They have the hour of unmercy, and they use the Blessed Sacrament to obtain power. Power to make priests be tempted and leave the priesthood by temptations at night. Power to make people be despondent and commit suicide so as to have a shortcut. Power to make people have wicked thoughts and to help all the criminality of the world to function properly. Power to help people just take a little bit more and have an accidental overdose. And on it goes. When? In the hours of darkness, when people are switched off and Satan and his minions are fully switched on. Do you know that it has come out of exorcism that what the demon could not do by overt attack from without, now he is managing to do by infiltration from within. It's his new means, and he's far more free because we are dormant. He's never asleep, and neither are his minions. And we let him work because we are sleeping, spiritually fast asleep, too concerned with not rocking the boat. With regard to the consequences, those sudden crashings into the beyond then become completely irreversible and consequential in one fraction of a second, when suddenly the dormant soul wakes up. Last night, rather by chance, I came across the detailed testimony of someone who had been there and back. When she got there, she didn't know she was going to come back. It's Gloria Polo, and it's something which actually is very interesting for this reason. She's pretty typical of many a Catholic, in inverted commas. She actually went to Mass every Sunday. But boy, what was her surprise when she saw her book of life. And all the commandments badly broken. If you're that way inclined, you can make good use of your screen to look into it. Just Google Gloria Polo. It'll all come up. It's the 2005 complete testimony which is the richest because it goes into all the detail. And it's something which the Lord has wanted us to know about. Because things which by now are presumed not to be out there, in this testimony are shown to be very much out there with all their consequences. The Lord can't bear the thought of one lost soul, but we choose, if we wish, to say no, and we can be saying no more than we think. This week, I was near tears because my community was leaving the monastery and going to France. And this was the first Sunday when we wouldn't have what we would always have on a Sunday morning, the Missa Summa with all its splendour. Prayer, which except for the 4 centuries of absence had gone on since 781 AD, stopping at least in that form. And somehow that monastery being a widow once again, empty and plaintive in the ground, empty of the glory of God for which it stood. A symbol, perhaps, of what we're at in our time, where God also, in many a temple, is stripped, and the house weeps because of the abomination of desolation, sacrilege and not honour, noise and not contact, man and not Jesus Christ enthroned in his own house. I would just leave you, my friends, with this. Advent can be the worst possible preparation for Christmas if we are not looking upwards, if we're concerned with what? The celebration. I mean the tinsel celebration quite often, which has to be perfect and from which no one must be excluded. Getting to Christmas with a wonderful feast, but without an encounter with the one arriving. Let's get this straight. Advent is the anticipation of the encounter with the Alpha and the Omega. If that is happening spiritually, the rest also spontaneously will happen and in context. If the other is perfect, the risk is that we'll miss the grace and also our place in glory.
Gloria. Lines written after reading Gloria Ponu's Return from the Dead. I hold within my hand a mighty thing that should not be, that has no right to be, that men would not have be, to which doth cling a powder of high sulphur none can see, but only thinly smell. For hell in rage is passing howling by, and I behold upon a page a cry that shall not age, as men's dim sound, so frenzied and so old. For here no aging comes, but ever young the morrow long that waits, and gates not seen reveal hind seals most huge the very song that doth but dawn upon dawns having been. For there is long cacophony where day was bright, and song most hugely wrong closed oft the night. Sant'Antimo abandoned. Written as the brethren are leaving for France on the 25th of November 2015. Goodbye, my brethren. Walk into the past that ne'er shall come again. Goodbye, long hours of incense sweet, of song whose sound shall last upon the memory's cells, wherein some unknown powers recall and call again to yesterday, where once we trod a while, in merriment not made of time thus weighed, or made to be thus blown. Goodbye, fond smile, the chuckle of trapped youth upon a page of coloured history. Goodbye, fair dawn of new beginnings never made to age. Goodbye, fond abbey, evermore forlorn. The song of youth shall never rise again from this our hidden gem, left twice in pain.